We are calling this Secrets to Success, Making It Work in Challenging Times. And these are three rock stars who are making it work right now. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but we have Kasie Curiel, we have Cliff Blauvelt, and we have Nguyen here with us today. So who wants to kick it off?
I'll go.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Cliff. I'm the owner of Odie. We have Sunnyside and Rhino right now, and then Boombot's Pasta Shop, which is going to be 3 or 4 months from now. I've been in cooking in Denver for about 25 years. I think I did the math today. I'm the type of person that works places for long periods of time, but I gained a lot of knowledge that way and just worked my way up from the very bottom. Didn't go to culinary school or any of that sort of stuff. So I wanted to be a chef or a cook back in, whenever college was in my future, but it wasn't really a celebrated job at that point. So I went to college, did that, and I continued cooking when I was done, said, I'm just going to keep doing what I want to do. And I've only worked in independent restaurants in Denver. So here we are.
Hi, my name is Nguyen. I am a Denver native, and my background's a little different. I come from a completely different industry. I used to be an investment banker, and I traded commodities, but I just had this calling for hospitality, right? Because I wanted to work really hard and lose all of my money, right? But anyway, left finance in 2001 and started working in every single restaurant I possibly could to learn as much as I possibly could. In 2005, I opened up Parallel 17. And for those of you, that was like the, first high-end French Vietnamese restaurant in Denver. But when I opened up that restaurant, I left the restaurants that I was working at as the only female executive sushi chef in the country at the time. But things changed. I also opened up Street Kitchen, Asian Bistro in the Tech Center. And then in 2013, I opened up Olive and Finch. So today I'm the founder and president of the Olive and Finch Collective, which has our restaurants, Olive and Finch. We also have cafes called Little Finch. We have a wholesale production and distribution company called Finch on the Fly. And then we have a hospitality management consulting company called Collective Management Partners, where we really, we come in and we help operators with their hospitality businesses, ideating and running them. So that's me.
Just a few things.
Yeah, just a few.
Just a couple.
My name's Kasie Curiel. My husband and I own Fonda, Fina Hospitality. We opened Alma 14 months ago, and that was our first one in Lohi. Found some success there. Opened a second one called Kazobi Fonda Fina in Boulder. And then to round out the year, we opened Mezcaleria Alma, which is also in Lohi. We also are opening Alteño, which opens in Cherry Creek on Monday, which we're super excited about. Yes, thank you. So exciting. I've been in hospitality my whole life since I was 14 years old, worked in high school and got a degree in hospitality and business because I loved it so much. And I think like all of us could not stay away. Like anytime I was like, I think I need to get a 9 to 5 because people say that and that feels right. It was wrong. We all feel that way at some point. And that led me here, and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you guys for being here.
Amazing panel. Okay, we're going to start by talking about operations. How have you guys streamlined your operations? Because since the pandemic, from everything I've heard, that is the name of the game, right? Streamlining. What have you done? What are your secrets there?
I think I can start off by just saying I read a lot, and I think one thing that has stuck with me is you end up doing every job you don't assign somebody else to do or teach somebody else to do. So I think when we first opened Alma, I was there opening to close every single day. Johnny and I both were, and it becomes clear that like mentally, physically, and emotionally, you can't do that. So how do you streamline it? And I think putting people in places and your employees in places to be able to do the things that you're doing and streamlining the processes has really helped us be able to grow in such a quick, doing 4 in 13 months. There was no way, right? Johnny and I were going to be able to do it by ourselves. So I think just streamlining and assigning other people to tasks, even if you don't feel totally comfortable, like it's hard to let go, but you have to streamline or there's no way you're going to succeed or be able to grow.
Whenever I was opening up Odie's Bodega at the time, I really was I wanted a sandwich shop, and I thought, sandwich shop is counter service, those sort of things. But looking at the operations, I've always worked in full service restaurants, so it was a different sort of model. But the reason behind it was, the sharing of the tips, the tip pools, just looking at what's more equitable for everybody back of house, front of the house. Being a back of house person, obviously I stick up for them a little bit more. So I really want to just make this more fair, but also an environment that like you can make a profit, but you have to figure out what those, the full service restaurants, that really hard model that everybody's struggling with right now. So that's really kind of the big one for me. Is like, how can we get there? And then with that, how do you still provide quality and standards of service that you do in a full service, the food and those sort of things. Cause we didn't want to be like, like a Chipotle, which is like, this is, you go and you get this burrito or this, we're scratch kitchen, very, very prep heavy, very technique sort of driven. And the sandwiches. So it was just a matter of, we could put a little bit more time and money there, offer that experience, offer the hospitality inside, bussing tables, just those little things, just making people feel comfortable. And I think that's kind of what helps separate us from just some of those other smaller quick service sort of models. But that was a big one, is really what's working right now and what can we make work. And it was right after the pandemic too. And just seeing everybody's do all that to go, and just kind of just made a lot more sense at that moment.
So for us, it's been a little bit different, because when we first opened Olive and Finch in 2012 or 2013, it was really about creating a chef-driven concept that was affordable, right? Where you can come in as you are into this community space and have a really great dining experience without the commitment in diet, in time, or in money. And I think for us, as we have grown, we have really tried to stay true to that. And one of the ways that we've been able to do that is by streamlining our operations, because we have a completely different distribution and a production center. So everything is still chef driven. Everything is still scratch made, but it's coming from one specific facility, and it supplies all of our locations. So right now we have 4 locations. We just opened up Union Station on Monday, and then we're opening up Arts Complex in May, and then Golden Triangle at the end of the year. And then we've got 2 more next year. So it's been very intentional with, okay, well, how do you grow, right? Like you're going to grow because you have to have the right people, right? You have to have the right people, but you've got to streamline your operations because our margins are so low. So that's something that I've been really intentional about, but also staying true, because as we're growing, it's pretty easy to get watered down, right? It's pretty easy to start using Cisco burritos or Cisco pastries, right? But everything that we're still doing it from scratch, but we're doing it in one facility. So we have one facility, we have one labor pool, right? But then all these other restaurants are basically just cooking a la minute.
Yeah. But also, you talked a little bit when we were kind of preparing for this conversation about streamlining training and how that's gone a long way, because you have around 125 staff growing up to closer to 250?
Yeah, so we have 125 staff right now. And by the end of this year, we'll have 250 because we're opening up 3 more locations. And so one thing also, so in addition to having this facility, we also have really leaned into tech. We have a learning management system where all of our training materials are online. And so, the team, whether they're working at our Cherry Creek location or our Uptown location or our Union Station location, they're all getting the same kind of training. But also that training is done, with us, obviously on video. But at the same time, it helps us from a cost perspective, because you don't have just like another person sitting there and reading a manual with someone, which I'm sure we've all done, right? In addition, we have a language management system where we translate all of our training materials and all of our hiring paperwork into multiple languages. I think when you look around the world, or not the world, but you look around the city, we're super diverse and we have a lot of different people working with us from a lot of different backgrounds, and we want to be inclusive. Right? We want to make sure that they're understanding how we're training them, and we want to be able to meet people where they're at.
Yeah. I think that sounds important, especially as your teams grow, right? How large is your staff, Cliff? And how large will it be when
right now, I think we're around 40, and I think with the addition, it's going to be over 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kasie, how about you?
With Cherry Creek, we just went to 135.
Right. These are growing teams, and that's a lot to manage between the delegating, right, and the training and trying to keep, as you were saying, all those operations streamlined. That counter service with hospitality is what I kind of think about when I think of ODBs and Olive and Finch. And that's a new model that, seems to be working well for you. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to full service. What about, speaking of operations, what about those mistakes that you've made that taught you valuable lessons that you won't do again? That maybe
I'll go
people?
first here.
Yeah.
I think just trusting your gut. I think one of the, just an example, when Johnny and I went from our corporate jobs to owning something, no one's proud to or happy to hire or fire anybody. I've probably fired 300 people in my life, It's never enjoyable. But I was always quick to do it. I trusted my gut. I knew I was making the right decision, and I never questioned it, ever. And I think we have hung on to people a little too long with our own businesses. And I think it just feels more personal, right? Because these people, you're hiring them. It's the beginning of your businesses. And I think we just hesitated a little bit to let people go. And the overall arching theme is just trust your gut. And I think we struggle to do that as much in the beginning because you don't have anybody for the first time, right? When you start your own business, you don't have anybody above you to check that question with or check that in your, in your thought process other than each other, which is great. But just trust your gut, I think is the biggest thing for us.
Trust your gut and fire fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the mistakes, you don't know what you don't know. So whenever you're opening your first restaurant, there's a lot. And, you have your resources, you have the people you trust that you can call and talk to. But there still comes, there's all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't even know this tax existed. So you just learn from those mistakes. At first, it seems very detrimental that you're not doing a good job, you're not doing it right. But everybody's kind of gone through that. So you have to remember that too. But one, operations side, inside of the restaurant, I've never worked in a fast casual spot. So the way that it was built and designed for and what actually happened were two completely different things. So really just learning how to grow, how to manipulate equipment, how to change floor, all those sort of what works, what doesn't work. This person just kept leaving the coffee machine. I was like, where are they going? They have to go get milk. And I was like, oh, we have to fix that because coffee uses a lot of milk. So just learning and not, it's kind of with going in without an ego and just being like, I don't know everything. I'm willing to say I screwed that up and can really look at anything and just be like, okay, so now building the second one, you hope that you kind of can fix a lot of those mistakes. There's a big cooler for coffee or for milk. But then, you think you start going through those and then, here we are 6 weeks in, I'm like, oh, they still exist. But so it's just an ongoing process. So you're always just learning and changing and adapting, evolving.
Right. Constant iterations.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with both of you. I think that those are mistakes that we all make. I would say for me, I've made a lot more. But one of the things that I think that I wish I had embraced sooner was that I can't do everything. And I think that that's a misnomer because, when you have a small business, right? Or when you have a restaurant, you think that you've got to do everything because it's yours, right? Your mortgage is on it. Your kids' college education might be riding this. So you're going to do it because you're going to do it better. You're going to do it faster and no one else is going to do it right. So I've learned, that, you've got to trust the people that you have. And what I do now is I really try to hire people who are smarter than me and better than me and have more experience than me, because honestly, I don't know, like you said, we don't know what we don't know, but as a group and as a team, we're so much better than when we're a one-person band.
Amen. I can say that personally and professionally as well. Hadley, I hired a woman who knows so much more about marketing and social media than I do, and she's killing it. So yes, I'm right there with you. Also, you had mentioned something about reservation systems when we chatted earlier. And I wonder if you could go back to that really quick.
For sure. So we started out on Talk. It was the most affordable monthly. And I was like, it's a good enough platform. Alma has 36 seats. I'm not really worried about it. And we made the transition, which was really hard at the time. We've transitioned to Open Table, and it was hard mentally because, we were booked out 60 days. So it's we have to transfer all these reservations. So I definitely put it off longer than I should have. But the outcome, on Talk, we were having 7 to 8 no-shows a night just because of the way their system is set up. Even I was texting the guests from our iPad, confirming still, and we still were having, I'm like, gosh, we have to get to the bottom of this. We can't. especially a 36 seat restaurant, 7 or 8 no-shows, it's a lot of revenue out the door we're not getting. So we talked to Open Table, and, I think we have like 1 a week, 2 a week. So being able to make that change and like having the courage to make that change when it feels overwhelming at the time. Revenue wise, we definitely have gained 5 to 10% from it. I mean, it's a really big deal, but I think it's a big deal to be able to say, okay, I'm going to get past this is going to be really hard and a lot of extra work way back here. And we got to do it. So it was huge for us, for sure.
Pushing through those scary changes.
Definitely.
Yeah, those big changes. Okay. So all of your businesses rely on these teams that you have built and these wonderful people, right, that you have hired. How do you keep them? How do you foster and grow a culture in your business that helps you keep the people that you hired for a good reason?
I think we deeply care about our employees. And I know we talked about this, like you guys do too. I mean, people are the foundation of what we do. If you don't enjoy your people and your teams and aren't helping them grow, like what are we all here for? But I think in the restaurant industry, it's so easy to like, let's all go out and party at the end of the night, or whatever that thing may be. Like, we're going to the gym together, we're eating healthy family meals. I think like things that keep people in a different mindset is a huge thing. I also know we just are about to embark on or roll out a benefits program for health insurance, dental, and vision. I think in our industry, like 10 years ago for hourly employees, that was almost not unheard of, but it was definitely not commonplace. And I think all the restaurateurs in Colorado, I mean, I know these guys do it, people set the standard and set the bar, and now almost everyone does. So I know our teams are really excited, and we're excited and proud to be able to do that. But I think benefits is also a huge thing in the industry to be able to do.
Our culture, I get certified as a peer support, especially in mental health and addiction recovery. So that was really important to me. Being in the industry, we all know how it goes. And so we have been really lucky to have a lot of team. I think 60% of our team is active in recovery. So that's a good one at least for our culture, is like, and the big thing behind it to me really is really actually caring for people. It's in your handbooks, it's in your manuals. You see them, everybody's got them, but who's really doing it? And that was one where I was like, this is something that we can do to actually walk the walk, talk the talk, and then make that change. So that was really massive. But again, this is all just like taking care of people. And, I think happy people make happy food and experiences. So if you can just do your part, take care of them, they should be able to take care of the guests that are coming in. And that was a big one. We try to I call it level up management, where if anybody wants to learn what to do or how to become a sous chef, my line cooks, we'll teach them. They're like, everybody wants to learn orders for some reason, but we'll teach them. You can all do orders. So we really take everybody, if they want to learn these things, we'll take the time and put it into them. So I want them to go to their next jobs and be sous chefs. I want sous chefs to go be executive chefs. Mm-hmm. I want people to be able to go open their own. If somebody wants to learn how to open a restaurant because they're crazy, let's do it. So that's really, for us, that was a massive part, is just taking care of it. The people, fun is a big one. Work in restaurants is hard. It better be fun, because that's the only way we're going to get through it over and over and over. It's monotonous. It weighs on you. But yeah, we just really trying to bring a lot of super positive, great, fun energy. And I'm constantly trying to do silly things and keep the team happy that way. But that was a big one, just people,
And real quick, you said to me that being a back of house person, right, and always being in the kitchen, you kind of looked at your culture through the lens of what were the things that used to make you feel undervalued or that you did not like in other places that then you can change for your team.
And that was one where it's like, if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to ask my team to do it, right. Which is now we're open until 8 at night, because I don't want to be open past 8 and I don't want to work past 8. Right. So I'm like, we're not going to do that. Yeah. And that's how I've made a lot of decisions. Thankfully, it's worked. I don't recommend it that way, but but that's just, I have that ability right now, so that's certainly how I run it.
Yeah. Good approach.
So I'm going to echo pretty much everything that they have said, but I think for us, we've been around since 2013, and from the get-go, Olive and Finch has always been very different than a regular restaurant. We always knew that we were a community space, and what was important for us is that we're a community not just for our patrons and our guests, but also for our team. And I think, for all of you who've ever worked in a restaurant, you have probably felt that you have been expendable. right? And I think a lot of people feel that way. So, since 2013, we have offered full medical, dental, and vision, even when we only had one location. We have a 401k plan that we match up to 3% dollar for dollar. And I mean, that's unheard of, right? Especially when you only had one location. So we've been doing that since day one. In addition to that, it's like, our model has always been to, train and to promote from within, because there is a life cycle to someone who works in a restaurant, right? I know this because I'm almost 50 years old and I probably can't cook on the line as much as I could when I was 30, but there's a life cycle. So, our model really gives our team an opportunity to grow and to do other things within our company, whether that's they want to work in a production facility, or they want to oversee sales, or they want to be able to oversee catering or private events. We're able to have an infrastructure that actually gives them a future and gives them opportunity with full benefits, basically like they would have from a 9 to 5. In addition, we do a lot of events, like Thanksgiving, I cook for our team. Like I literally cook. This is one day. I'm just kidding. I cook a lot more than one day a year, but like everybody comes in, and if you don't have a family, well, we're your work family. So come in and I'm cooking you dinner for Thanksgiving and we're breaking bread together. We do employee parties. So we go to a pool and we reserve the pool and we close the restaurant and everybody brings their kids. So it's about building community within the team, because they are, we talk about hospitality. We talk about the passion, right? Like we're in this room because we love to serve. Well, you're also serving your team. So remember that.
Yeah. Well, and I like the way that you're all building your cultures. You're trying to create generations of leaders that will go past you, right? Like we all started in restaurants. I also started when I was 15. Like you can spend your entire career in this industry if it's professionalized the way you guys are making it happen. So thank you for doing that. Okay. You're also growing. Multiple locations, expanded footprints, wholesale, all the different things, airport. Can you all talk a little bit about how you are making that happen? Because it seems daunting to me.
Okay, I'll start first. I have always known that I wanted to grow our concept, and I wanted to create a true hospitality company that had legacy and had legs and wasn't just going to compete for butts and seats. And so that's one of the reasons why we have diversified and we have different concepts, right? Whether it's a restaurant or a cafe, but then we also have our wholesale distribution. And so to scale, we've hired really great people, so I feel like all the things that we're talking about is so important, and it all ties together, because if you want to grow and if you want to scale, you kind of have to do all of these things, which is one, hire the right people, and then figure out ways that you can make money besides just having butts in seats. One of the things that helped us during COVID was already having a very, very aggressive catering program, already having a very, very aggressive to-go program. And so our pivot wasn't as challenging as it was for a lot of other businesses. So, for us, we have really tried to diversify our scope of work and our different revenue streams. But on top of that, I've hired really great people, and I'm so lucky, right? So lucky. Like my CEO and my COO used to run Sage Hospitality, and they started or Sushi Roku in like LA. So I'm so lucky that I have professionals who have been doing this a lot longer than me. So, hire the right people. But for us also, we have also leaned into our technology. So, we have all of the different things that we can do. So instead of updating 20 different handbooks, we're updating one. Right. And it's making us more efficient. And then our production facility really allows us to take advantage of those vendor relationships. When we own 50% of our supply chain, we're really able to see those savings.
It's huge.
If we were kind of talking about people, and if you don't have the team to expand, then you can't. And so therefore it's developing your team and getting them to that place. Excuse me. That was one, I thought I was going to have this little sandwich shop, and that was going to be nice and fun. And my wife's going to have her own job. We're going to have 2 incomes, and everything just kind of went out the window, and this thing just took off. So that was really, the growth wasn't even part of it. It was just like, I just wanted to have my own little thing. And that was what I wanted. And then it worked. And, once that, then you start getting the attention or the traction of, developers. And that's an easy way, if you're looking expansion, especially with like loans and self-funded, it's look at the developers that are giving out attractive offers with their TI and their, construction money and things like that. That really helps like that sort of growth. And I've run multiple units before, so it wasn't that far-fetched. But it's that if you don't have the systems in place, you're kind of taken away from one to go to the other. That's always a fear is like, is the OG still the OG, or does it still have all the same? Is it the same vibe? Is it the same food? Is it all those things? Because now you have more working parts across the whole scene. So it really like systems operate, like standard operating procedures, all those sort of unfun things, but are super, super necessary.
Yeah. I think if you have one restaurant, and don't wait for the opportunity to present itself to say, okay, now we're ready to do a second or a third. You have to get yourself ready before that opportunity comes. So for us, we had Alma. I was running the front door 7 nights a week. Johnny was on Saute cooking 7 nights a week. Like we're there 7 a.m., we're leaving at midnight. And then we were like, okay, we started to see some success those first couple months. And we were like, okay, we're self-funded as well. So we're like, financially we can get there. We're going to want to do a second one and a third, concept, not necessarily the same one. And so we were like, we need to start, even though it feels crazy because it feels like you're handing your newborn child to people, we're like, we have to start taking a day off and see what this feels like and see how the team's going to do without us there. So before any second opportunity got presented to us, we started taking a day off, and you're looking at the cameras constantly and you're like, they got it. We hired great people for a reason. Like they have it. And then we started taking like a second day off a week. And then we were like, all right, we're like 3 or 4 months in. We're like, we're going to go on like a 3-day trip and like unplug. Let's see how they do. And they killed it. So then we were like, all right, we feel ready. And then like knock on the door comes and we're like, all right, Boulder, like we have to, this is such an exciting opportunity. We're ready. So at that point, we go to our team and we're like, hey, listen, this opportunity presented itself. I know we're only like 5 months into this, but like you guys got this. And they were like, no, do it. Like we had the buy-in from them. And so I think it made it a lot easier then because they made that decision with us. Like if they were like, hell no, you guys have to stay here. Like we can't do this without you. We wouldn't have done it, So we had their buy-in. And then it was a lot easier for us to say, okay, we're going to work 2 days here and 2 days in Boulder. That transition from 1 to 2, I don't know about you guys. For us, that was the hardest because you go from in it all day, every day to like, I'm taking a step back. I have to, or this thing is never going to grow. And then, we did the same thing with Boulder, right? All within a year. And then it was like, all right, this is easy to do number 3 now. We have great team running here, great team running number 2. And so then it was really easy to do number 3. And, looking at number 4 now, it's like we have great people everywhere. It feels like and they're all so excited and they're all growing, right? So, someone who we hired as our first server is our beverage director doing our entire beverage program. That feels really good to her. That feels really good to us. Our cooks are now chefs, sous chefs. So the people, we haven't really lost anybody. Everybody keeps growing in their roles. So I think you just got to keep the momentum while it's there and hold on to it as long as you can.
Well, and also you, Kasie and Cliff, you both expanded with next door, like properties that were right next door. And I imagine that helped.
We were just talking about it because at first our landlord approached us when we had Alma and he was like, hey, do you want the space next door? And like simultaneously I was like, hell no. And Johnny was like, yes, and I was like, oh no. But for us, because they're so close to each other, the basements connect. We share we share ingredients, we share products, we share teams. They're all cross-trained, and it helped us streamline things. We were collaborating on this for sure.
Yeah. We had the opportunity to take over the old art gallery next door to the shop in Sunnyside. And the Sunnyside shop is only 1,400 square feet. So you can imagine how small that is. And the walk-ins outside, it's tiny. Everything is just, so whenever that opened up next door, I didn't want a new neighbor. And it's really started, just kind of creative thinking about like, what can we do to take that over? What can the kitchen can't grow in size because the hood's only so big. We can still only put out X amount of food. Well, what can we do? And that's where really the idea came of, okay, can we turn this into a dining room and a bar, use the same kitchen, close the sandwich shop, open that, 2 hours later, and now we've had a whole nother concept, a whole nother restaurant right next door that I didn't have to put in a new hood. I didn't have to do any of that other, so as far as the financial, behind it, it just made a lot more sense than having to go in and do, $1 million build out on these things. You just kind of, it sounds a lot nicer. You're like, oh, you have to do a dining room and a bar, so that one just made sense. But it's staying creative, and how can you find those sort of what will work, what won't work, and we'll see how it goes.
It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, it'll be great.
It's going to be great. Okay, so we've got the people are integral, right? And delegating and leaning into tech and all of those things and streamlining. What about cost-saving tools and strategies that you guys, that have worked for you guys? Because that's, I imagine, another very important piece of the puzzle.
I kind of touched on labor a little bit, but the cost-saving stuff, it really is knowing what a P&L, knowing how to work them, knowing how to read it, knowing how to manipulate those numbers, how to get things, and just where to find things and where to find savings too. But it's just having that almost expert experience and knowledge of it to kind of break these things down, to continue to chip away at some of these. I know Kasie, she had some good ones on there.
I think when we first started looking for restaurant space, we quit our corporate jobs. We're we'll open a catering company, we weren't passionate about it. It had some success, but we started looking for restaurant spaces during that time. And, realtors barely call us back. They'd be like, here, you have 5 minutes, look at the space, So I think once you find some success, going back and, obviously, now people are knocking down our doors, we'll give you this much in TI. And we're do you remember that you barely let us look at that place a year ago? But anyways, so I think once you start to find the success, going back and renegotiating your contracts, we just got done going back through something as big as Comcast to as small as where are you getting your paper goods from? Going back and reevaluating. I think we've probably saved 10% in COGS over the last 4 months, just going back and reassessing and re-asking. And the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to say, hey, listen, I might go to somebody, obviously we're loyal people, so you only do it for your bigger vendors, but hey, listen, we're looking at going with someone else because oh, hold on, you don't know unless you ask. So ask those questions, try to get a lower rate on anything and everything, no matter what it is.
So they're all doing the right things. But I would say it's the same, for us. It was really important. I didn't want to be a restaurant company that was just competing, everybody for the butts and seats, right? So, we made sure that we had the infrastructure to do catering, to do to-go, right? And to really focus on those things rather than just the people walking into the door. So that was really important for us. And I think now that as we've been able to grow and have multiple locations, as you both have said, we've really been able to lean into those vendor relationships and making sure that we have, cost of goods that are beneficial to us. And same thing with labor. This is not an easy business, right? Our margins are so low. What do they say now? It's 3%?
3 to 5.
3 to 5%, right? So if you're thinking about opening a restaurant, good luck. No, I'm just kidding. Do it because it's amazing, right? But it's a passion, right? We do this because we love it, right? We're not in it really at the end of the day. You're not in it to make a ton of money because we're not making a ton of money, but we love what we do. And I think for me, it's I'm creating community, I'm creating opportunity, and I'm creating something bigger than me, right? We were the first casual restaurant in Denver that was doing chef-driven scratch-made food that you would order at the counter. We were the first one. And we won 5280's Best New Restaurant in 2014. And we've changed the way people eat. And that's a great feeling. And I feel like I'm digressing right now, but it's really, the savings are there, but you've just got to be really, really diligent on making sure you're watching everything. I like to say that pennies turn into dollars, and my staff hates that, but every single napkin, every single sugar packet costs money. And if you don't pay attention to the details, then you're going to lose it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And instilling that in your team. Your team might not love it, but if you can communicate how important that is and that the industry literally is an industry of pennies, right? I think that's got to be important, right? Yeah. Okay, what about, even though all of this is pieces of advice, we've been doing pieces of advice for 40 minutes, do you have one piece of advice you've received or that you have figured out that you would give to the people in the room?
I'll start. I would say that, I am saying that I wish I had embraced this earlier. But, somebody told me once that you cannot work on your business if you're working in your business. So think about that, right? If you want one location and you're happy with one location, by all means, do everything, be everything. You'll probably make more money, if you are doing everything. But if you ultimately want to grow, you can't grow your business if you are the host and the busser and the accountant, and the chef. So, I have really leaned into that, and, we've brought in people to be able to do the business and to run the business. And, I think hopefully, better than me. So, if you want to grow, then you got to give people an opportunity to do it, because, you working in the business isn't going to grow anything.
Advice. One thing for me, I was, especially when you're new and you're opening your first place and you get a lot, there's just a lot of people in your ears telling you a lot of things. Well, what you should do. And that was one where you start second guessing yourself and you start wondering, should I do that? Oh my gosh, they've been successful for this long. But some of that, it's trying to just block out some of that noise and really just kind of stick to what you want to do and what you think is, your vision. That was a big one for me, because it became overwhelming to hear everybody's like, oh, you should do this. You should do this. So I think sticking to your guns was kind of a big one for me. Let's see here.
We can go back and forth. Yeah. I'll do one. Mine, I think, is knowledge. I have a couple, but my first one would be knowledge is power. I'll give you a great example. Like not everybody, but a lot of people that are full service restaurants in Colorado are doing tip pooling. And, in my gut, I just always hated that. I thought people don't work in the industry in front of house wise to make like an exact hourly rate. That's their guarantee, and that's what it is. If you wait on a guest, in my eyes, you should be able to get that tip from that guest because you gave them the service, and it keeps incentivizing them. So knowledge is power. When we went to go open our first restaurant, I was like, all right, everyone does tip pooling. That must be the best way to do it. It must be how you make the most money. So I dove hard into it. And for, Alma, that did not make sense. The chefs make their own money because they're waiting on the guests. So it's this whole different component that most restaurants don't have. So if I didn't dive into that, I'll tell you we are going to do it because it makes the most sense there. But my point is, if you don't go in and get the knowledge and you just are kind of, well, they do it, like you said, like, well, they do it. They're really successful. So that must be the best way to do it. That's probably not the case. Like, the best way to do it is you diving in and you knowing what's the best for your business, because every business is just so different. So that's my number one. My number two one would be, just stay true to who you are. We got a Michelin star. So exciting, great, put so many opportunities in front of us and gave us a platform to really be able to reach out and help and, just do different things and hire great people and hire more people and give more people jobs. A lot of great things that came along with it. But, Cliff just said, people are going to be in your ear. Raise your prices. You could raise your prices 25%. You could do this. You shouldn't have a happy hour. Well, that's what got us here. So I think we are not going to raise prices. I think we're going to keep our happy hour. Just stay true to who you are, because one, that's the business you created and it's what you enjoy. So keep enjoying it by being who you are. We got a review the first week after we got the Michelin star, and it was the knife wasn't on the right and the fork was on the left. And I started deep diving into oh my gosh, I need to redo the training. And then I was like, screw that. We don't care about we don't care about those things. We never have. So stay true to who you are. Is mine.
One more that I have is empowering the team. And so we're very open with even financials and those sort of things, but just empowering the team. They can see what's going on, but also giving them the tools to not need me. So that way they can continue to grow. So if they're doing hopefully they're not calling me. And then I get a little piece of quiet. But it really is, it's trying to, get everybody just what they want to, and just making them better.
Yeah. What about secret weapons? Last question before we go to questions from all of you. Is there a secret weapon in your business that is helping you do all the great things you're doing?
I mean, I know. So I have a secret weapon, but it happens to be my wife, Kara. So
I was going to answer that for you.
Yeah, I mean, we work really well. She's kind of I'm back of the house sort of human, and that's really where. That's just my knowledge, my experience. I'm very strong in operations, but there's a lot of things that I don't understand, and I'm just like, I don't get this. So here, so we really complement each other. She does all of our social media, so we really just kind of divide and conquer on strengths, and that works out really well for us.
Yeah.
Mine is the same answer, but it's
Kara's your secret weapon?
Kara's my secret weapon too. Nobody knew. No, my husband is my secret weapon, but we're each other's secret weapon. I think it's, you might not have a partner that works out. So like, how does that help me saying that? I think it's just go find the right partner if you're going to partner up with somebody. I think so often people get a partner and then, they find out like months in, they don't agree on like the fundamental things. Like there are so many times where we go do something and like my husband and I haven't even spoke about it, but we know we're on the same page because we agree on those big things. I think just if you're going to have a partner, make sure you and your partner are like thick as thieves, because if not, it's a tough ride.
I don't have a business partner, so I can't say that Kara is my secret to success. But
she'll volunteer. She'll help you too.
Kara, just FYI, you're volunteering. I want to sit up here and tell you that I know everything, and I've got secrets that I can give you to make your restaurant business successful. But there are a lot of really great restaurants right now closing. And I'm going to say that I come to this industry with a different lens, because I have a different kind of background. But I'm also very passionate about hospitality. So I think I'm able to straddle the financial side and the hospitality side. But I also think that, sometimes it's luck and sometimes it's really hard work. And sometimes a restaurant's just run its course. You know what I mean? So that's my secret, is just really being able to pivot too,
Well, and I think your team, right? It sounds to me like you might not have one specific partner, but you've hired a whole team of people.
I hope that like all of the things that we've talked about has been so beneficial to you all. But if I had to say what's my secret is all of it combined, if it was a secret. But I think that you all know that, right? Maybe you just need us to tell you so that you can go out there and open up your restaurants.
Or more. Who in the audience has questions? Hadley and Erica have mics so that everybody can hear everybody, but I'm sick of asking all the questions. Now it's to you guys. Okay, cool.
But for Mary, talk about a learning management system. That seems to be like a new thing in the industry. What are you using, and how do you tie that back to like an ROI to see if it's actually working, and whether it's saving money or keeping a higher retention of your employees?
So we use a system called R365. Does anybody know it? Okay. So we use that, and there are different modules that you can sign up for that has that like training part. So one of the things that I think for us is that we're looking at it from an efficiency perspective. So we don't really look at the ROI per se. We look at like, okay, well, we're about to open up 5 or 6 more restaurants, right? Like what can we do as we scale to make ops a lot easier? Does that answer your question? Okay.
So Mary, also question, centralize the kitchen. A lot of places have tried to commissary. You've done it successfully. What's the difference? A lot of people have tried, but it's not as easy as it sounds.
Oh no, it actually sucks. So our growth has been very, very just deliberate. Our first location was 2013, Cherry Creek was 2017, and then Little Finch was 2023. But between that time, we built a commissary kitchen, and we started in a 6,000 square foot facility. And there, we started small. It was a 6,000 square foot facility. We found a restaurant that had closed, so we didn't need to put in a lot of infrastructure. And then we started really just producing food for our 2 locations, as well as selling it wholesale. And then we really, we saw opportunities for us to grow and create a completely different type of business. And then moved into a completely different facility. So I would say it's still really, really difficult, because you have to think about, like, this is a completely different operation, right? Like, you have drivers. You have to figure out your, like, driving routes. And then now you're a purveyor for other businesses that sometimes go out of business. Like, we had customers who during COVID went out of business and they still owe us money. And that's really hard. But I think that we have been able to find it worthwhile, because it has really allowed us to continue to grow, but keep that we are still chef driven and that we are still scratch made, and that the same product that you're getting at Cherry Creek is going to be the same as it is at Union Station. So, the benefits outweigh kind of the headaches that we have. And we've been very deliberate in the way that we have grown. I think maybe when you look at ghost kitchens, right, or you look at commissary kitchens, like, that happened fast or that happened hard, right? And then everybody's now out of business, and it's just because, you're building the plane as you're flying it. And I think for us, we were building the tricycle while we were riding it. So does that answer your question? Okay.
Hi. I am curious if either of you are willing to share your thoughts on HB 25-1208.
It doesn't affect my business, so I choose not to think about it.
Good call.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. Any way you twist it, turn it, bop it. Like, there's nobody in the industry that, like, really wants to talk about it, because it's just a hard topic. We want to pay our people the best that we can in the industry. The one thing I will say that, like, we think about day in and day out is that there is a divide in our industry between the front of house and the back of house and the pay structure. And, arguably it is the most physically demanding thing in our industry to work in the back of house. And for those people, to make less money is really, it's hard. It was always hard, but when you own your own business, I think it's way harder, because you see, like, the blood, sweat, and tears those guys are putting in. They get there way earlier, they leave way later. So I think I don't want to touch on it too much, but just to say that, like, we're trying to think of how to make sure our back of house team is making just as much as our front of house team, and it's challenging.
Like Cliff, it doesn't really impact our business, because we have always, we have a completely different model, but I can understand why it could really help a lot of small independent restaurants.
Well, and to be straight, I think you guys have been clear about it, but I feel like you pay everybody who works for you the full minimum wage of Denver, right? You're all in Denver. And then everybody shares tips. Is that right?
Yes.
Ish. Depending.
Yeah, we don't share tips in most of our locations. I will say that.
Even though your cooks also serve.
Right, they make their own pool. Yeah. There are nights I'm not working, and I'm like, I should pick up a shift tonight for sure.
Right. Yeah, it is. There are, as you said, there are so many restaurants that do the tip sharing in whatever way, and then there's others that doesn't work as much for, which is, I think, what 1208 is supposed to help with. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, this is more of a comment and kudos to all of you guys. So I grew up in a restaurant. My mom and aunt started some back in Virginia, and the pillar of their success was their people. And that's something that I saw just sitting in here, hearing from all three of you guys, that all of you pour into your people deeply. And like that, I really think is the foundation of success to a business. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into it, but like, bravo to all of you guys for loving your people.
Thank you.